All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a crazy day today. I just had so much shit going on this morning. It wasn't funny, but it's all done now. It's nice and hot outside, so it's been a beautiful day weather-wise in far north Queensland. So what I want to do, I want to say a g'day to Mr. Jayden Pue. Jayden's a fellow Mo Bro. I've known Jayden for that long, and we'll tell the story about how we actually met. It was quite interesting. Um, Jayden is a owner of part owner of Blve Fitness. It's a family business which is run up here in Cairns. It's one of the gyms, CrossFit, running clubs, cycling. You did the ride the other weekend up to where was that again? That was Cooktown.
Cooktown.
Cooktown. That's it. Cooktown Classic? Well, I can't remember now.
Cairns to Cooktown. It's about 330 kilometres.
Yeah, yeah. So 4 days,
3 days, yeah.
three
So two
days.
nights,
Yeah,
and then yeah, it took us 3 days to get there.
yeah. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, and Jayden, welcome to the channel, mate. So I appreciate the opportunity to have a chat this afternoon. I know you're busy with work and stuff like that, so I do appreciate taking the time just to have a bit of a chat this afternoon. It's a good opportunity for me actually because it's a bit of a wind down from today. Today was pretty hectic, and I know this morning for me, oh mate, it was just a pain in the ass, like trying to get shit sorted and stuff. And it's like fucking hell, it was just one of those days, and we've all had those days, and I know it was just frustrating to say the least. But that's my rant over for the afternoon. But yeah, the whole purpose of these conversations that we've been having with other people is obviously to have a chat to fellow people like yourself about Movember and what it means to you. And we're not just talking about Movember, we're talking about women's health as well. We've got all those Mo sisters out there who have supported us over the years. And I know I've got a lot of people who have supported me, and I'm sure you're the same as well. So, and I'll just take it back a step. The way that we met was interesting because it was, I want to say last year, probably mid last year, maybe, when you actually started up the run club. So I was going for a walk
Yeah.
along the Esplanade Sunday morning, and it was just around 6, and I saw all these people starting to run towards me. They're all, you know, all the chicks in their lycra and stuff, and there was a few of you, and I'm just going, who the fuck are these people? What's going on? Literally taking up the whole Esplanade. Anyway, that's fine. Kept on walking up, and I saw this big sign saying "Believe BLVE." I'm thinking, okay, I need to talk to these people, and that's how I met yourself. You were there. We had a chat, and we've become friends since. So, and I kind of want to say it was maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm not sure now. I'm pretty sure it was probably two
I reckon
years.
it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I reckon it is 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah, because you did your run for November last year, and it was
Yeah.
before that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I reckon it was probably 2 years ago. So yeah, and Jade and I became friends through mutual interests. Obviously, Movember has been the key one, and obviously running as well. So, mate, I'd love to get your insight about what you've experienced being a Mobro. I'm 17 Mobro this year, 17 years with them. And I know it's going to be another massive year coming up. And I know you've just done a massive run that you did last year as well. So I'd love to hear insights to that as well, mate.
Yeah. So I wanted to start by saying thank you for having me on. It's now after just listening you say you've had a bit of a rough start today, I feel I've had a bit of a rough start too. And this is actually a really good for me to just kind of sit here and just take a moment to just talk. It's something that I don't do often. So thank you for this opportunity, and thanks for having me on.
No, you're right.
Um, um, Movember is something that was actually like, it was something that I never knew about. It was something that was kind of given, and got given an opportunity, and I was someone presented it to me and said, "This is something that you could be interested in," and I didn't realize at the time how much and how important this cause would be, would mean to me at the time. But as I got more involved, it's something that I've realized I'm still struggling with, but also it's something that I want to learn more and help more people, and realizing it's more common, much more common than we think, and it could scale from, you know, very severe to just your everyday little problems in life. And I think it's about people coming together and just creating a safe spot and a safe place for people to feel welcomed, and give people the opportunity to be themselves.
Yeah, and that's it. And that can be hard for, and I just want to make people aware as well that obviously the thoughts are our thoughts. You know, we're not trained specialists or anything like that. We're just talking about our own experiences, what we've been through in life, and it's interesting because obviously there's a bit of an age gap between us, but that's okay. It's interesting because like when I've been talking to a lot of different people, it's been about getting their perspective, getting their thoughts, not just about men's health, but women's health. It's about health in general, but for the fact that obviously it's Movember, we want to highlight a little bit more about men's health. Having an opinion from someone who's 27 as opposed to someone who's 51. So there's a bit of a difference between ourselves. But when I'm talking to people who are roughly my age, there's that whole stigma, and there still is that stigma. You hear it every day when you talk about men's health. It's like, men aren't open about their feelings. They
Yeah.
hide things and stuff like that. And mate, we've all been guilty of it. But I know for myself, I know since I'm getting older, my since I redirected my thoughts and priorities in a different direction, which was about 4 odd years ago, I think the mentality's changed. And I always wear my emotions on my sleeve. It doesn't take much for me to cry at something at the drop of a hat, whether it's a good emotion or a bad emotion. And I seem to be experiencing that more lately than anything else. But then when we're talking about someone who is roughly your age, when I was in the army, when I left the army, I was your age. And we're talking like,
Yeah.
1999 was when I left, roughly, give or take a couple of years. But it was roughly around that age. Oh, no, it could have been a little bit less. I think it was when I had my first son, I was roughly 27. So when I think about that and when I think about the position you're in, you've got a good group of people around you. You've got good family support, like we should all have, and that definitely helps a lot. But when you're at the gym and when you've got, I don't know, 40 to 60 people in the gym doing a session all at once, what's it like in that environment? Aside from the physical side of things, do you get a lot of people talking about their concerns, any issues that they may have, whether that's male or female?
In the gym sense, I wouldn't say people open up in that sense where, actually, no, I take that back. There's actually, I'd say, a lot more females, but now I can see a lot more guys opening up since being more open and creating these events. The connections are getting more deeper, um, and I think that's sorry,
Yeah,
just
man.
trying to just
You
trying
know,
to process.
take your time, man.
Um,
It's all good.
I think uh, I'm not too sure what I'm trying to say here, but definitely the connections in the gym. As you come closer with anyone, you're going to experience um, better connections, and people are going to open up more.
Mm.
I know when you first come into the gym, um, or the first thing you feel in this gym or the club is people feeling welcomed and all that. And I think it allows people to kind of feel like they can speak to you more openly. And I just being part of the Movember and being the owner of the gym and stuff, people feel like they can come to me a lot more and have these deep conversations. I don't know if they're having those conversations with other people in the gym, but I know from
Mm.
my own experience, I'm getting a lot more people being able to open up. So
Yeah, and that's a great thing that that's happening. You're showing that connection, you're showing that um, vulnerability almost when you're doing events like this. And obviously, what you've done over the last couple of years is your 24-hour runs. So, um, basically running from 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 the next morning to raise awareness for men's health. And mate, you should be commended for that. That's an awesome achievement. I think since you've done those, has there been a more interest in people being a little bit more open about how they're feeling?
yeah, so firstly, I just want to say before anyone kind of gets any ideas, I'm not one to open up. This is just having this conversation right now is really, really tough. I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not the person to I wasn't the person to open up to my feelings. This is something that's very new to me.
yeah.
So I think that I just want people to know, like, this is very hard just to even
Uh,
talk. But
yeah,
I think the physical side and all that kind of side, that's something that I've really worked on for the past 6, 7, 8 years. And and that's now helping me get to where I am and being able to kind of open up in a
mm.
certain way. So I just want people to know that I'm not some professional at this. I am, this is hard.
Yeah, and mate,
um,
and I really appreciate you being really open about that. That's something that takes a lot of courage just to be open and honest about that. So I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity just to have a chat. And if you feel like any time that you just want to stop, mate, that's fine. That's all good.
yeah,
There's no dramas. This is a safe space. So if you feel like you want to just take five, mate, that's no dramas.
yeah,
And I think it goes to show the vulnerability that some people um, are affected by. Someone who's 27. You've had, if this is difficult for you to have that conversation at your age, I'm just thinking what it's like will be someone who's younger than yourself. Men's health doesn't just affect older men. You know, it affects younger men too. And
yeah,
and you for honestly, I think you do fall into that category. You're obviously you're a lot closer to 30 than you are when you're 20. But in anybody's eyes, you're still relatively young, and having that foresight to be open and honest about yourself and have that knowledge to reach out to somebody, mate, you know, good on you. That's really hard for someone to admit that, but then it's even harder for someone to, not acknowledge that, or even acknowledge that, I should say. So, you're I wouldn't think of that. When I first met you, you're very confident in what you're doing. You've got a good family around you. You
mm,
got a great mum and dad, and got a great brother who's there to support, and you got a lot of good people around you at the gym. So,
yeah,
and that's where it can be kind of misleading for some people on the
yeah.
outside. No
And that's why
dramas.
I just wanted to clear it up, because like
Yeah,
that's what you just said there. It all looks good on the outside,
that's
but
it.
deep down, there's things in people that are uncovered. And I
Mm.
think that's what I'm just learning now, and learning how to kind of talk about it and how to express it. I feel like just owning this business with my brother has opened up, has made me have to open up to my brother,
Yeah.
because it's something bigger than just us now. So we got to have these conversations. But the reason why I said that was because in this time, that where we've been doing these events and stuff, I've had boys, the boys come up to me, and people want to get more invested in this stuff.
Mm.
People want to start creating these movements and these events and stuff that all help people get more connected. So that's why I kind of bring that up, because it reminded me, yes, there is people now wanting to do more stuff in Cairns. And I think I came from Gold Coast where all these things were happening, and moving back to Cairns, there was this kind of missed thing up here that I feel like it, there we were missing something up here for someone
Mm.
like myself, and that's why we've done a lot of the things that we're doing now, is to try to give Cairns and the people like myself and the boys I hang out with something to be connected to.
Yeah, yeah, and I've found that as well. And like we've got mutual friends who've reached out to me as well that have a chat, which is great. So I'll definitely be catching up with them in the next few days and getting their opinion and having a chat. Um, do you think because it's potentially a regional thing that could be a concern as well? Obviously the resources, like when you're saying Gold Coast, for example, there's a lot more resources available than there are up here. You know, would anybody know? Would you know yourself where to reach out to if you do need support?
Um, for me personally, like my own, like what I would be looking for if I was struggling, I wouldn't. I don't think would know who to reach out to. Um, like I guess you have your all your health lines and stuff, but would I be one to reach out to them? I don't know. I feel
Mm.
like I'm someone that I would like to be a part of something, and then I think I think just reaching out to someone on a cold call for myself would be a very a lot harder than
Mm.
having an opportunity to just be a part of something physically, or being in a group, and then that could lead to something else. But that's my own personal experience in
Yeah.
that sense.
When we're looking at uh, a group environment where you're in at the moment, a lot of guys can obviously reach out and get the support that they need. They're forming like a connection, like a bond with a lot of different people, which is great. That's why you see a lot of the men clubs and popping up. There's one that's happening pretty soon where it's like you guys just get around for dinner one night and just have a chat. There's no pressure to be involved in any stuff like that. So it's good having that outlet as a group, but then I think people forget on the flip side on their own mental health. Like, you could be absorbing a lot of information from these people about concerns that they may have, but then what effect is it having on you? I know when I started having these conversations, I had a pretty heavy day. I had like three conversations back to back, basically, and then the last one was like, you know what, I'm done for the day because it's mentally draining for myself. It's emotionally tough, and I think that's what a lot of people forget about. It's good to have that opportunity to talk to somebody like
Mm.
yourself, for example. But then, how is it affecting you? You know, like you said before, that you're not one to really talk about your emotions. What would your outlet be? Would your outlet be just to go for a run, hit the gym, smash out some weights, or what would your outlet be if that was the case? If you had a group of guys come up to you and just say, "Hey, this is what's going on. Can you listen to what's happening?" How would you kind of debrief yourself from that? because some those conversations can be pretty heavy. And like I said at the start, we're not trained professionals.
Yeah.
We're not at all. I have my own psychologist who I chat with, um, but her background is sports psychology. So
Mm.
it's when I was racing in triathlons, probably when your old man was racing. I was, as you know, very well know that triathlon is a very individual sport. But you're training with a group of people. You're in an event with hundreds, if not thousands, of different people. But you're competing against yourself, or you're trying to beat somebody else's time, or your own time for that matter. But then,
Yeah.
how is it affecting you as a person? And that's when I started to see her, because I'm thinking, you know, what's affecting me in able to be a better sports person, a better triathlete. So, sorry, I went off track a little bit there.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right. I got it.
but then
Yeah.
when we go back to your experiences, and what would your outlet be when you need
Mm.
to debrief for something?
Yeah, I think that's something that I've kind of kept hidden, and I like. It's nice that you can recognize that there is a side to the person that's trying to create all these things, and I definitely feel, um, that I I don't have like I'm trying to create these things, but I don't really have someone to talk about it, or and like you said, it does take a lot of mental. Like at the moment, I'm very drained from all the kind of events and the lead up to the last 24-hour run,
Mm,
um, and I don't even think I've kind of processed it or talked about it. So I think the the conversation side for me, like the outlet, I don't have, and that's probably something that I should really work on. But I guess for myself to kind of cope with, just the stresses, or taking people's information in, is
mm.
physical activity, and it's something that's always kept me going and kept me in line and kept me in check. But I think what I'm experiencing right now is I'm coming on the backside of doing these things, and now I'm kind of burnt out. And yeah, just so now that you bring that up, I think that's something that I should really focus on, because yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like you're a lot of the things that you do around for the region and for Cairns, and you do a lot, and just by looking at you, I'm not sure if it's just today or not, but you look tired. You do look
No.
you do look tired, man. So that just don't fall asleep on me. That's all right. So
No,
it's all
no,
good.
I'm not falling asleep.
No. But that's the thing, that you do look tired. If that's just a day that you've had, or you're kind of coming down from what's been happening, like I want to say the last month and a bit for you has been pretty full on, and that would have taken a lot to get through that, just to organize things and stuff like that. So having an outlet for you to fall back on, or like, I won't say exactly what you're doing, but I know that you've got something happening on the weekend, which could be a good opportunity to let your hair down, so to speak, and just chill out and just, you know, be with people and just relax without thinking about work. I know my work has, I have the fortunate ability to have an outlet at work that I can rely on. So we have external people that we can call up if we've got concerns, stuff like that. So that's paid for by work, which is fortunate. So there is that avenue. If I need to speak with somebody, I can. It's still difficult because you're talking to somebody that you haven't spoken to before. And,
Yeah.
you're not building up that relationship with somebody, as opposed to if I was talking to my psychologist, that's someone I've known for 7 years,
Mm.
maybe 8 years, give or take. So I've known her for a while. So having avenue that is there, and unfortunately, you don't have that avenue. So you kind of need an external source for yourself, whether that, and again, my only opinion, having that external source for whether that be family, whether it be friends like myself, someone that um, you train with, mates that you could go away with, have a weekend away, whatever the case is. I think for yourself, and this goes for people who are not in the position that I am, where I have external support for services that I can call on in case. It's people like yourself who don't have that opportunity. It's I think, knowing where to reach out to if you need support. There are obviously there's doctors, there's referrals to psychologists, stuff like that. But I think it depends on people's circumstances. Can they afford it? And that's it's not cheap, and that can be like a real have a real impact on people. I think for yourself, from what I know of you over the last few years, and it's kind of highlighted to me what you said earlier about this is not a situation for yourself that you're comfortable with, and that would never been something that I would have thought about when I first met you. You've got that outgoing personality. You've got a good sense of people around you, but on the flip side, what's going through that person's life at the moment, and that's mate, that's just not you. That's everybody. I would think. What do you think on that?
Sorry, what was that last bit?
I think it comes down to having that understanding of what's going on in somebody's life. On the outside, they're all confident, they're outgoing. Nothing,
Yeah.
the Superman bullets coming off you. Nothing's going to penetrate you. But then that's not necessarily the case.
No.
No, it's not. It's yeah.
But you kind of like something that I've just thought of in my head was there's like this younger version of me, and I've created, I guess, this I'd let's say armor around myself so I don't get hurt,
Mm,
or or even just the fact that I don't want to be that person anymore, and the and the person that I was a very shy and scared person, and you sometimes fall back into that person when times get hard, I guess. And
yeah,
I think that's something else that I don't know. I just brought that up, but that just came to mind when you just said that. So
yeah. And I think we're all vulnerable, no matter the age. We're all vulnerable. We have emotions. We have thoughts that go through our head. What am I doing? Is that right? Am I,
yeah,
and and it's good to get opinions from other people, but sometimes you kind of don't want those opinions. I think sometimes it's easier to just go out there and do your own thing, and
yeah,
then see where the chips may fall. But I know today for me, like this morning, I could have just gone, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing today. Not doing today at all. I'm quite happy to just go, nah, I'm done. Close my laptop. See you tomorrow.
yeah,
But I pushed through it, and and I'm not always like that. Hell
yeah.
no, no way. But I think one conversation that we can get out of today, someone who's in your age group, and this is probably more towards the 30s more than the 20s. Um, if there's one thing that you could say to somebody that could potentially improve their well-being, what would that be?
I think the biggest thing that I could ever do in my life that has dramatically changed how I think and what I do is, well, two things. But help yourself first to help others,
Yeah.
and make sure your environment is surrounded by the people that you look up to or you aspire to be around. Yeah.
All right, mate. That's some good sounding advice. All right, that's good sounding advice.
Thank you.
All right, brother. I'm going to let you go because I think I've exhausted your brain today. So, no, it's all good, man. Honestly, I really appreciate the conversation, and it's therapeutic for me as well because I'm letting people know about my own thoughts, and it's just not about me having the conversation, and I'm expecting the people who I talk to just to blurt out their issues and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a safe space to be in. I'm quite happy to talk about other things apart from that, if that's the case. So it's just a good conversation to have. It's a bit of an insight for people who may not be aware of your circumstances, and hopefully it gives a little bit of insight and support and help for them who may be going through some issues. There is help out there for people. A lot of people don't understand that or don't realize it or think it's too hard to get those services. There is support out there, plenty of support. So your health, your doctors are there to support you, to help you. They can refer you to other people. There are men's groups out there. There's fitness groups, running groups out there. There's so many running groups out there. Funny, but it's a good way to meet new people, get fit. We both know that running on the Esplanade on a Sunday morning when the sun's coming up, mate, you can't beat that shit.
No, no, it's the best way to start your day.
It is. All right, brother. I will. I'll let you go. But again, thanks for the conversation. I really do appreciate it. And if I don't see you on Sunday, I'm not going to be there the following week, but I will. I will catch up and we'll have a chat.
Awesome. Cheers, Benno, and I appreciate the conversation today. Like, I took a lot out of this, and actually, I think it was more beneficial for myself to just listen and be open. And it's a good reminder of, and to remind myself that opening up is actually very important and very helpful. And I hope someone listens to this and gets a lot out of it.
So do I. All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, Benno.
All right. Stay safe.
Bye bye.